Silence is not the absence of power, it is the presence of self-mastery. Imagine a predator circling its prey, confident, cocky, thinking it has all the time in the world. It pounces, expecting no resistance, but finds itself caught in a trap it didn't see coming. That's what happens when someone mistakes your silence for submission, when they think ignoring you is a game they can win, only to be blindsided by the storm you've been quietly building. In this world, we're often conditioned to equate noise with strength. Arguments, pleas, explanations, they seem like the natural responses when someone overlooks or dismisses us. But true power doesn't scream, it whispers, and sometimes it doesn't even need to do that. Silence, when wielded correctly, is the ultimate act of defiance, a declaration that says, "I don't need your validation to define my worth." This is dark Stoicism in action. It's not about retreating or sulking, it's about reclaiming your energy, choosing peace over chaos, and letting your absence speak volumes in a world that thrives on noise. People who ignore you often think they're holding all the cards, but here's the truth. The second you withdraw your attention, the entire game changes. You're no longer playing by their rules, you're rewriting them entirely. Picture a towering oak tree standing unshaken in the middle of a storm. The wind howls, the rain pelts down, and yet the tree remains rooted, unbothered by the chaos around it. That's the essence of dark Stoicism. When someone ignores you, they expect you to be like a fallen leaf, fluttering, desperate for acknowledgement, chasing after the breeze. But when you choose silence, you become the oak, immovable and unyielding, letting their indifference crash against you like waves on a rock. They think they're pulling the strings, that their lack of response will leave you scrambling for their attention. But silence flips the narrative. Instead of reacting, you retreat, not as a sign of defeat, but as a calculated move to take back your power. In the vacuum of your absence, they're left with nothing but their own insecurity, forced to confront the hollowness of their so-called strength. Let's get real. Ignoring someone is not power. It's a desperate bid for control. It's an illusion, a throne built on sand. People who ignore you aren't showing strength. They're showing fear. Fear of vulnerability, fear of accountability, fear of being seen for who they truly are. Their silence is a mask, a shield they hide behind because they're too weak to engage in genuine connection. But here's the twist. The same silence they use as a weapon can be turned against them. The moment you stop feeding their ego, stop chasing their validation, you expose the cracks in their facade. It's like a stage actor who thrives on applause. The minute the audience goes quiet, they lose their confidence. Your silence becomes the mirror they've been avoiding, forcing them to see their reflection without the buffer of your attention. Imagine a chessboard mid-game. Your opponent thinks they've outmaneuvered you, that your king is cornered, your pieces scattered. But while they've been celebrating their perceived victory, you've been quietly strategizing, moving in silence, planning your next move. And then, with one deliberate play, the board shifts in your favor. That's what happens when you embrace silence with purpose. It's not about going numb or shutting down. It's about recalibrating your focus. Dark Stoicism teaches that silence isn't the absence of action. It's the presence of intentionality. You're not retreating, you're preparing. You're not bowing down, you're biding your time. And when the moment comes, your silence will speak louder than any words ever could. People who ignore you thrive on your reactions. To them, your effort is fuel, your pain is entertainment, and your attention is currency. They sit smug on their self-made thrones, thinking they hold all the power. But here's what they don't realize. Their throne isn't made of gold. It's made of the energy you've given them. And the second you stop giving, the entire structure crumbles. Your silence in this context isn't just a lack of response. It's an active choice. It's you saying, I will no longer build you up at the expense of my own peace. And in that silence, a remarkable thing happens. You reclaim your power. Every moment you don't react, every second you hold back, you're dismantling the illusion of their control, brick by brick. Dark Stoicism isn't about revenge, it's about revelation. It's about showing them, without a single word, that their games were meaningless, that their absence didn't break you, but rebuilt you into something stronger. Your silence becomes a storm, unpredictable and unstoppable, leaving them to grapple with the echoes of their own actions. Imagine them sitting in a room, expecting a message, a call, a sign that you're still chasing after their crumbs. Instead, there's nothing but silence. A silence that grows heavier with each passing moment, pressing down on them like a weight they can't escape. That's the power of dark Stoicism. It's not about making them miss you. It's about making you matter to yourself. When someone ignores you, they expect to control the narrative. But when you hit them with silence, you flip the script. You show them that their games mean nothing, that their indifference doesn't define you, and that your worth was never tied to their approval. Silence isn't just the absence of words, it's the presence of strength. So let them think. Ignoring you is fun. Let them revel in their illusion of power. Because when you choose silence, intentional, purposeful, powerful silence, you remind them of a truth they can't escape. You don't need their attention to rise. You are the storm, the oak, the chess master, and your silence is your crown. Welcome to Dark Stoicism. Affirmations are like seeds planted in the mind, nurturing your strength and helping you rise above doubt. They remind you of the power you've always had within. Here is your affirmation. My silence is my power, my strength, and my crown. Write this in the comments below and let it echo through your journey of reclaiming your worth. If this message has touched your heart and reignited your fire, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. We are pouring our passion and effort into creating content that empowers and uplifts you. Your support means the world to us. Number 1. They mistake your silence for defeat, but it's the calm before the storm. Have you ever watched the sky before a thunderstorm? The air grows still, the world holds its breath, and everything seems deceptively quiet. To the untrained eye, it might look like nothing is happening, but nature knows better. That calm is not peace, it's preparation. And just like the storm that follows, your silence is not a sign of surrender. It's the gathering of power, the quiet before a transformation that will shake everything they thought they understood about you. Silence isn't submission, it's strategy. They mistake your silence for defeat because that's the narrative they want to believe. They sit smugly on their self-made thrones, thinking they've won, imagining their indifference has broken you. They thrive on the illusion that your quietness means you've given up, that they've silenced your spirit. But what they don't realize is this. Your silence is not the absence of strength, it's the focus of it. Like an archer pulling back the bowstring, you are poised, deliberate, and ready to unleash your power in ways they never anticipated. Imagine a volcano, seemingly dormant, its surface calm and undisturbed. Those who don't understand its nature might dismiss it as lifeless, inert. But beneath that stillness is a core of fire, a molten storm building in intensity. When it erupts, it's not sudden. It's the result of energy quietly amassing, waiting for the right moment. That's you. They think your silence is the end of your story, but it's only the beginning of your ascent. Strength grows in silence, just as storms gather in the stillness. They're so quick to label you as defeated because they can't comprehend a power that doesn't seek immediate validation. They don't see that every moment of silence is a declaration of self-worth. You're not scrambling to explain yourself or chasing after their approval. You're reclaiming your energy, focusing it inward, and using it to fortify your foundation. Their misunderstanding of your silence isn't your problem. It's their blindness to the truth of who you are becoming. Think of the ocean, vast and seemingly endless. Its surface can appear serene, but beneath lies an unstoppable force capable of creating waves that reshape entire landscapes. Your silence is the same. It doesn't scream for attention, but when the time comes, it moves mountains. They've mistaken your quietness for stillness, but what they fail to realize is that you are the storm they never prepared for. A roaring storm doesn't ask for permission, it simply arrives. Their belief that your silence equals defeat says more about them than it does about you. It reveals their shallow understanding of strength and resilience. They need noise, reactions, and chaos to feel powerful because they have never experienced the quiet confidence of someone who knows their worth. They rely on your response to validate their control, but your refusal to engage strips away the illusion they've built for themselves. This is the essence of dark Stoicism, the ability to wield silence as a tool of empowerment, not as a weapon for revenge, but as a fortress for your peace. You don't need to explain yourself to anyone who hasn't earned the privilege of understanding you. Your silence is a shield that protects your energy from those who would drain it, and a sword that cuts through the illusions they've created. When the storm you've been quietly building finally arrives, it won't be for their benefit. It will be for yours. It's not about making them regret ignoring you or proving them wrong. It's about proving to yourself that you were never as small as they made you feel. Their indifference didn't define you. Your resilience did. And when you rise, it won't be to their level. It will be to a height they could never reach. So stand tall in your silence. Let it be your calm before the storm, your preparation for something greater. They may mistake it for weakness now, but in time they'll understand that it was your greatest strength all along. My silence is not defeat. It is the gathering of my storm. Write this in the comments below and let it be a reminder of your unshakable power. If this message resonates with you, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. We are working tirelessly to bring you life-changing lessons like this, and your support fuels our mission to inspire and empower. Let's rise together. Number 2. They use ignorance as a shield, but your silence becomes their mirror. The loudest echoes come from the quietest spaces. Have you ever noticed how some people wield ignorance like a weapon? They believe ignoring you is a power move, a way to keep control while avoiding responsibility. They act as though their indifference makes them untouchable, like armor shielding them from accountability. But here's the irony. They think they're holding a shield, but what they're really holding is a mirror. The moment you stop reacting, their games lose their meaning. Your silence becomes the reflection they never wanted to see. Think about it. Ignoring someone isn't strength. It's fear wrapped in arrogance. It's a child covering their eyes during a game of hide and seek, believing that because they can't see you, they're invisible too. They think they've vanished from your world, but all they've done is expose their inability to confront the reality of themselves. Silence has a way of magnifying this truth. When you choose to go quiet, to stop feeding their ego with your energy, they're left alone with the sound of their own emptiness. Silence isn't submission. It's self-respect in its purest form. Imagine this: a pond, calm and still, reflecting the sky above. It's serene, peaceful, unbothered. Now picture someone standing at its edge, throwing stones, hoping to disrupt its surface. That's them, tossing their indifference your way, expecting ripples, your reactions, your efforts to win their attention. But what happens when the pond stays still? The stones sink, leaving no trace. The calm surface becomes a mirror, reflecting their futile attempts back at them. That's the power of your silence. It doesn't just deny them the reaction they crave, it forces them to face the hollowness of their actions. They think their ignorance diminishes you, but in reality, it only amplifies their own insecurities. By refusing to react, you've taken away their shield, leaving them to confront the reflection of who they truly are. In your silence, they'll hear the truth they've been running from. People who use ignorance as a tool thrive on the belief that their indifference hurts you. They expect your pain to validate their importance. But when you meet their games with silence, you shatter that illusion. Your quietness isn't a sign of defeat. It's a declaration of self-mastery. You're no longer willing to dance to their tune or play a role in their performance. Instead, you stand firm, unshaken, and let your absence speak louder than words ever could. It's like watching a stage actor who thrives on applause. The moment the clapping stops, the actor falters. They look around, confused, unsure of their place without an audience. That's what happens when your silence replaces your reactions. You've taken away the applause, the validation they relied on to feel significant, and in that stillness, they're left alone on their stage, questioning whether they were ever truly in control. Silence isn't empty. It's the space where transformation begins. The beauty of your silence is that it doesn't just protect your peace, it amplifies your power. By refusing to react, you reclaim the energy they once took for granted. You redirect that energy inward, using it to rebuild yourself, to grow, to thrive. While they're stuck in the games they've created, you're rising, becoming stronger, more resilient, more in tune with your worth. When they finally look into the mirror of your silence, they'll see what they've lost. Not just your attention, but the version of you who once gave it so freely. And by then, you'll have moved on, standing taller, shining brighter, unbothered by the weight of their indifference. Remember this: their ignorance doesn't define your value, your silence does. Each moment you stay quiet, each time you choose peace over reaction, you're sending a message that speaks volumes. You're saying, I see your games, and I won't play them. I know my worth, and it's not tied to your recognition. The greatest power isn't in shouting your worth, it's in knowing it silently. So, let them use ignorance as a shield. Let them pretend their indifference makes them untouchable. Because the truth is, they'll eventually have to look into the mirror your silence creates. And when they do, they'll realize that the shield they were holding was never protecting them. It was exposing them. Here is your affirmation. My silence is my strength and their reflection. Write this in the comments below and let it be a declaration of your newfound power. If this message resonated with you, like this video and subscribe to the channel. We're working hard to bring you life-changing lessons like this, and your support helps us continue creating content that uplifts and empowers you. Thank you for being part of this journey. Number 3, they think they hold the reins, but you've let go of the game. The moment you stop chasing is the moment they realize they were never the prize. Have you ever watched someone trying to control a kite in the wind? They tug at the string, believing they have full control, only for the kite to break free and soar higher than ever. That's what happens when someone thinks they hold the reins to your emotions, but you decide to let go of the game entirely. They believe they're the puppeteer, pulling your strings, orchestrating your reactions. But here's the truth. The moment you stop playing, the illusion shatters. When they ignore you, they expect desperation. They expect you to chase after their breadcrumbs, to plead for their attention, to validate the throne they've built out of your effort. What they don't realize is that by ignoring them, you've done something far more powerful than begging for their approval. You've walked away. And in that silence, you've taken back every ounce of power they thought they held. The greatest form of strength is realizing you don't need the control you thought you did. Think of a chess game. They've been strategizing, convinced they're cornering your king, moving their pieces with smug confidence. What they don't realize is that you've already left the board. You're not playing their game anymore, and without your participation, their moves mean nothing. Every strategy they employ to get a rise out of you, every calculated silence meant to provoke you, becomes useless the moment you decide you no longer care. They think the reins are firmly in their hands, that their absence keeps you tethered, but in reality, you've already cut the ties. You're no longer a part of their narrative. They may think they've won, but the truth is, they've lost the only thing that gave their games any meaning: your attention. The strongest people aren't the ones who fight battles. They're the ones who walk away from wars that no longer serve them. Picture this: a marionette dangling on a stage, its strings being pulled to make it move. The puppeteer believes they are in complete control, basking in the applause of the audience. But then the strings snap. The puppet stops moving, and the stage falls silent. In that moment, the puppeteer is exposed for what they really are: powerless without their control over another. That's what your silence does. By letting go of the reins they think they hold, you dismantle their illusion of power entirely. What they never understand is that control over someone else isn't strength. It's insecurity. They ignore you not because they're powerful, but because they're afraid. Afraid of losing you, afraid of facing their own emptiness, afraid of the vulnerability that real connection requires. Their power isn't real. It's borrowed from your reactions. And when you stop reacting, their world crumbles. But your silence isn't just a tool to expose their weakness. It's a declaration of your strength. By letting go of the game, you free yourself from their control and reclaim your energy for what truly matters: yourself. You stop pouring your light into someone who doesn't value it and start shining for yourself. And here's the twist they never saw coming. When you rise above the game, they lose. Their ego depends on your attention. Their sense of control relies on your reactions. By letting go, you've taken away everything they thought they held over you. You're no longer their puppet, no longer the character in their story. You're the author of your own. You hold the power the moment you decide their games aren't worth playing. So, the next time someone tries to manipulate you with their silence, remember this: you don't have to engage. You don't have to fight. You don't have to chase. You are free to let go of the reins and walk away. Let them think they've won while you rise above their petty games, stronger and more empowered than ever. Say this affirmation with me: I let go of the game and I reclaim my power. Drop it in the comments below to declare your freedom and inspire others to do the same. If this message resonates with you and you're ready to take back your power, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. We are dedicated to creating content that empowers you, and your support helps us reach more people who need to hear this life-changing truth. Together, we rise. Number 4. They think you're a moth to their flame, but you're the phoenix rising. Have you ever watched a moth circle a flame, mesmerized, drawn to its light, unaware of the danger? It flutters closer and closer, consumed by its own fascination, until it's burned. This is how they see you: fragile, desperate, unable to resist their allure. But what they fail to realize is that you're not a moth at all. You're the phoenix, and while they play with fire, you're preparing to rise from the ashes they never thought you'd escape. From the ashes, a fire shall be woken, a light from the shadows shall spring. These words remind us that destruction is not the end. It's the beginning of something greater. They think ignoring you diminishes you, that their silence will leave you circling their flame, desperate for scraps of warmth. But their games don't define your journey. Their fire may singe, but it can never consume you. Instead, it becomes the fuel for your transformation. Think of the phoenix. It doesn't merely survive the fire, it is born from it, brighter and stronger than ever before. When they ignore you, they expect you to spiral into doubt, insecurity, and longing. They believe their indifference is your undoing, but silence, in its essence, is where you find yourself. While they focus on keeping you in the shadows, you're building wings of fire that will take you to heights they could never imagine. What lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us. They think their flame is the center of your world, the light you can't resist. But what truly matters is not the light they offer, but the one you carry within. When you step into your silence and away from their games, you begin to see that their flame was never as bright as you thought. It was a flicker compared to the inferno of your potential. Imagine standing in a dark room with only a single candle flickering in the distance. It feels like the only source of light, and you're drawn to it, thinking you need it to see. But as you step back, your eyes adjust to the darkness. You begin to see the outline of a window. Outside lies the sunrise, a vast, unstoppable light that dwarfs the tiny flame you once thought was everything. That sunrise is you. The phoenix doesn't cling to a single spark. It becomes its own fire, illuminating a path that others can only dream of following. They think ignoring you is their power play, that their silence will keep you circling. But here's the truth. Their flame isn't special. It's temporary, fragile, and small. You've outgrown their games, and when you choose silence, you're not withdrawing out of weakness. You're reclaiming your strength. In silence, you're not waiting for their attention. You're cultivating your own light. And when you rise, they won't even recognize the person you've become. Their arrogance blinds them to your transformation. They think they hold the power, but in reality, they were only ever a spark in your journey. A fleeting moment, not the defining one. They thought you needed them, but the phoenix needs no one to rise. It doesn't wait for permission. It doesn't seek approval. It simply rises, radiant and unshaken, proving that the fire meant to destroy it was the fire it needed all along. So, let them think you're the moth. Let them believe you're drawn to their light. While they play their games, you're creating something eternal. You're becoming unstoppable, and when you soar, they'll see what they lost. Not a fragile moth, but a force of nature they could never hope to control. The flame they tried to trap you with was nothing compared to the fire you built within. When you rise as the phoenix, it's not about revenge. It's about revelation, proving to yourself that their indifference didn't define you. You define you. You're not circling their flame anymore. You're lighting your own path, one that needs no validation, no approval, no audience. And when you take flight, their small spark will fade into insignificance, outshone by the brilliance of your wings. Remember this: their silence isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of your greatest chapter. Say this affirmation with me: I am the phoenix, and I rise from the ashes. Write it in the comments below and let your transformation begin. If this message has ignited something within you, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. We're working tirelessly to bring you powerful, life-changing lessons, and your support means the world to us. Let's rise together. Number 5. They confuse your patience for obsession, but it's precision. Patience is not about waiting. It's the calm acceptance that the outcome will be on your terms. Have you ever watched a predator in the wild? It doesn't pounce immediately. It waits, motionless, watching every move of its prey. To an untrained eye, it might seem like hesitation or uncertainty, but in reality, it's precision. That's you when you choose silence in the face of being ignored. They mistake your patience for obsession, assuming you're hanging on, desperate for their attention. But what they fail to see is that your silence isn't obsession. It's a masterstroke of self-control, a deliberate act of reclaiming your power. People who thrive on manipulation and control often misinterpret stillness as weakness. They think that your lack of reaction means they've won, that their indifference has left you chasing. But here's the truth. Your patience is not about waiting for them to notice you. It's about standing firm in your silence, watching them unravel as their games lose meaning. Their indifference doesn't control you. It reveals their inability to hold your worth. The mark of a strong soul is knowing when to act and when to wait. Patience in this context is not passive. It's active precision. It's like sharpening a blade, not to strike recklessly, but to ensure that when the moment comes, you're ready. They think you're lingering in their shadow, waiting for a crumb of their attention, but in reality, you're standing in your own light, unbothered, letting their actions or inactions speak volumes about who they are, not who you are. Imagine this: a skilled archer standing in the woods. The target is in sight, but the archer doesn't immediately release the arrow. They take a breath, steady their hand, and wait for the perfect moment. This isn't hesitation, it's precision. It's the kind of focus that turns silence into a tool of immense power. Your patience works the same way. While they think you're lost in obsession, you're actually calculating, rebuilding, and positioning yourself in a way that leaves no room for their chaos to touch you again. They ignore you, thinking it's fun, thinking it's power. They expect your patience to falter, for your silence to crumble under the weight of your emotions. What they don't realize is that your silence is your foundation. It's the unshakable ground upon which you're standing taller every day. Each second you refuse to chase, each moment you hold your ground, you prove that patience isn't obsession, it's mastery. You're not waiting for them, you're creating a world where they no longer matter. A lion doesn't lose sleep over the opinions of sheep. Let this be a reminder. Their games don't deserve your reaction. They might believe they're in control, that their ignoring you is some grand display of power, but every moment they expect a reaction and don't get one, they feel the emptiness of their own actions. Your patience is not their victory, it's their undoing. Think of the quiet before a storm. The air is still, the world holds its breath, and the storm gathers strength. When it finally arrives, it doesn't announce itself with hesitation. It roars, unstoppable and undeniable. That's the power of your silence, the precision of your patience. You're not waiting for them to realize your worth. You're simply ensuring that their presence no longer affects your peace. So let them think you're obsessed. Let them think you're holding on. You know the truth. You've let go, not with noise or drama, but with grace and focus. Your patience isn't about them. It's about you. It's about knowing that your time, energy, and love are far too valuable to be wasted on someone who can't appreciate them. It's about recognizing that your silence isn't a pause. It's a statement. As you move forward, remember this. Patience isn't about waiting for someone to notice you. It's about preparing yourself for the life you deserve, free from their games and manipulations. You're not a beggar asking for scraps. You're a builder, creating a foundation so strong that no one's indifference can shake it. I am precise in my silence, powerful in my patience. Write this in the comments and let it be your mantra. Affirm your strength and precision with every word. If this message resonates with you and empowers your spirit, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us create more life-changing lessons like this. Together, let's rise above the noise and build a community of strength, resilience, and empowerment. Number 6. They believe they've written you off, but you're writing your legacy. They tried to write you off as a forgotten chapter, but you're quietly penning an entire epic they'll never forget. Imagine this. A painter sets aside a canvas, dismissing it as unworthy, only to discover later that it holds the masterpiece they never had the vision to complete. That's you, overlooked, underestimated, and ignored. But while they sit there convinced they've closed the book on you, you're turning the page, writing a legacy they'll never comprehend. The world breaks everyone, and afterward, many are strong at the broken places. Ernest Hemingway. Their indifference is their attempt to diminish you, to box you into a narrative where their silence holds the final word. But here's the truth they refuse to see. You are not a chapter in their story. You are the author of your own, and your silence is the ink you're using to write your triumph. They believe their absence has reduced you, that their disregard is a period at the end of your sentence. But it isn't. It's the space between chapters, the breath before the rise. Think of a riverbed in the dry season, cracked and barren under the weight of the sun. To the casual observer, it seems lifeless, but beneath the surface water flows, gathering strength, carving new paths. When the rains return, that same river roars back to life, stronger and more unstoppable than ever. That's you, my friend. Your silence is not empty. It's full of quiet power, a force they'll only recognize when it's too late. Your silence today is the symphony they'll hear tomorrow, Matt. They thought ignoring you erased your importance. In reality, they've handed you the time and space to grow, to rebuild, to create something magnificent without their interference. They sit smugly on the sidelines, believing they've won, unaware that their dismissal has removed their role in the masterpiece of your life. While they were busy looking away, you were busy becoming. This is the paradox of their indifference. The more they ignore, the more they reveal their own limitations. They thought they were silencing you, but in truth, they've amplified your voice, your purpose, and your resilience. Every moment of their absence is a moment you've used to craft a life so full, so radiant, that their opinion of you shrinks into irrelevance. Imagine a phoenix, burned and reduced to ash. To the unknowing eye, it looks finished, done, its story over. But the phoenix knows better. It doesn't rise out of spite. It rises because rebirth is its nature. And when it soars again, brighter and fiercer than before, it doesn't look back at the ashes. It flies forward, untethered by what was. That's you, writing your legacy in flames they'll never extinguish. They might forget you for now, but the world will never forget what you're becoming. You don't need their acknowledgement. You don't need their validation. Your worth has never depended on their recognition. The story you're writing is bigger than their silence, deeper than their dismissal, and stronger than their ignorance. They believe they've left you behind, but in truth, they're the ones stuck, trapped in their own arrogance while you move forward, carving out a future they'll one day wish they had been part of. Remember this: your silence isn't the end, it's the beginning. It's the quiet power of someone who no longer fights for scraps, but feasts on their own self-worth. It's the roar of a life built on strength, resilience, and independence. I am the author of my story, and my legacy will echo beyond their silence. Write this affirmation in the comments and let the world know you're no longer waiting for someone else's recognition to define your worth. If this message resonates with you, like this video and subscribe to the channel. We are working tirelessly to create content that inspires and empowers you to rise above, reclaim your power, and build the life you deserve. Let's write your legacy together, one moment of strength at a time. Number 7. They think silence is a void, but it's your greatest weapon. Silence isn't empty, it's the place where true power begins to grow. Picture this: a vast, quiet forest at dawn. The world seems still, untouched, serene, but beneath the surface, life is bursting. Roots are stretching, seeds are breaking open, and the air hums with potential. This is the nature of silence. To the untrained eye, it might look like nothing is happening, but in reality, silence is alive, brimming with possibility, and more powerful than any noise could ever be. When someone ignores you, they think they've left you in a void, a barren wasteland where you're grasping for their attention. To them, silence feels like absence, like emptiness. But here's the twist: they couldn't be more wrong. Silence isn't a void. It's a weapon, a masterpiece of restraint, and a declaration of strength. It says, I don't need your validation, and I refuse to play your game. They expect your silence to crumble into desperation, but instead it transforms into a fortress they can't penetrate and a storm they can't control. He who masters silence masters himself. Think about the ocean. On the surface it might appear calm, even tranquil, but underneath lies immense depth, pressure, and unstoppable force. That's the kind of silence you wield. It's not the silence of defeat. It's the silence of focus, of self-preservation, and of preparation. The silence that makes them second-guess their own assumptions. They expect noise. They expect pleading, explanations, and reactions. But when you respond with silence, you shift the power dynamic entirely. Suddenly, their throne of indifference starts to wobble, because your silence is louder than any words you could ever say. Metaphorically, your silence is a chessboard mid-game. While they think the absence of movement means you've surrendered, you're actually setting up a strategy they can't predict. Every second you remain silent, you're dismantling their illusion of control. They thrive on your reaction. It's their fuel. But when you refuse to engage, their engine sputters, and they're left staring at a reflection of their own inadequacy. The quieter you become, the more you are heard. In their arrogance, they believe silence is your way of waiting for them, hoping they'll return or notice you again. But the truth? Silence isn't for them. It's for you. It's the space where you rebuild, where you channel your energy into yourself, where you plant the seeds of your next triumph. Silence is where you grow into the version of yourself they'll never be able to ignore. But by the time they realize it, you'll have already moved far beyond their reach. Imagine a phoenix. It doesn't rise in the chaos of flames. It rises in the silence of ashes. That's you. Your silence is the pause before your rebirth, the stillness where your strength takes shape. And when you do emerge, stronger and brighter than ever, it will be on your terms, not theirs. They think silence means defeat. They think it's the end of your story. But here's what they don't understand. Silence is where your real story begins. It's the canvas on which you paint your comeback. It's the foundation on which you build your empire. And when the world finally sees what you've created, your silence will echo louder than their words ever could. So, let them think what they will. Let them revel in their illusions of power. Your silence isn't a void, it's your greatest weapon. It's the space where you transform pain into purpose, rejection into resilience, and indifference into